He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. I've not experienced great trouble and trauma many times in my life, and when I have, it has not been connected to pestilence and plague, but mainly related to travelling and family illness. In those situations, I found that I could do nothing else but rest in God's shadow and shelter. Nothing was within my control, and looking back, I can testify that it was true that, as hard as those situations were, no harm befell me, and I was protected with His feathers and under His wings. My biggest problem in this context is that I am a what-ifer. By that I mean that when faced with a possible scenario, I tend to examine all the possible outcomes. Very often this is not connected with something that has happened or will happen, but with something that may happen. My husband is late home, so I start to find a plan for how to let the children know that he's had an accident. And when I was working in Mozambique, I mused about, what if I have a stroke in the hotel I stay in Beira? Would the team investigate where I was? And how could I exit my room on the 13th floor if there was a fire on the stairs? To give just a few examples. Sometimes I dream vividly of my time as a teacher. For some reason, this is often connected with taking the register. I've been retired now for nearly 12 years and did not take a register for 3 years before that. It can take me a long time to realise that the scenario is not true. And by then all sorts of dire consequences have been filling my mind and robbing me of peace. And at the end of a day where I've had to do something which puts me out of my comfort zone, I often lie awake at night thinking, what if I'd said that differently or not avoided that situation? This is all leading up to me saying that I'm a worrier about small detail, which may or may not become an eventuality. My husband can be dealing with a situation that may be intense, but it seems to be me that stays awake in the night thinking about it. A friend in Mozambique, a gentle lady who was not judgmental in any sense, once told me that she'd recently read a book that suggested that to worry was a sin because it was a failure to trust God. That's an interesting theological position, one that I do not happen to share, at least at the level I'm referring to, but it has made me think. Yes, Jesus does say do not worry, but this is not an imperative or command. I say to my youngest granddaughter when a dog approaches on a walk, don't worry, but I'm not saying to her, you must not worry, but you don't need to worry because I've got you and I will keep you from harm. So Jesus is issuing an assurance that He's with us in our worries and He will rescue, protect, answer, be with us and deliver us when we're in a troubling situation, as the end of this psalm promises. So my testimony is not that I've learnt to dwell in the shadow of the Almighty every time I'm tempted to what if, but that I'm still learning how to do that. And in doing that, I find that I need to fill my mind with scripture and worship songs, and these often come to mind during the night when I start to what if. I'm so thankful to God that in Sunday school I learnt so many verses from the Bible by rote, and these have never left me. 1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxiety upon Him, because He cares for you. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So my prayer for all of us is that we will find the words of the following worship song to be true in our lives, so that we can find rest at all times in the God that we can trust. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine.